Rashida Tlaib tells bank CEOs to divest from oil and gas. Democrats are still buying into various lies regarding January 6th. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Friday, September 23rd, and I couldn't be happier than to end this week off right, doing The Bald Brad Show and hanging out with all of you, my friends and true American patriots, where we come together as a community of conservatives and Republicans, go over the stories of the day, and bring you all the news and information you need to know about. So if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show and you haven't already, what are you doing? Join us by hitting that like and subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, heck, folks, you can find us and listen to us anywhere and everywhere. Leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only would you be helping a conservative, most importantly, you'd be supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. And heck, while you're at it, hit that bell notification and again, hit that like button. It really does yeoman's work in supporting the channel. With that being said, we got a couple video clips for you all today to round out and end the week off right. The first one, our lead story of the day, being Rashida Tlaib going after bank CEOs and just being smug, disrespectful to them, saying they don't care about certain things, telling them to divest from oil and gas, and then she says the quiet part out loud multiple times, folks. This one is going to blow your mind. Without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this.
Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate this opportunity. I represent one of the largest populated counties in Michigan. And in recent years, I know the Michigan chapters of the Arab American Civil Rights League and the Council on American Islamic Relations have filed complaints regarding banking discrimination against those of Muslim faith. And so Mr. Monahan, in May, you might know that there is a class action lawsuit that was filed alleging that Bank of America engaged in discriminatory banking practices by targeting, restricting, and closing accounts of people of Muslim faith. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not, ma'am. Well,
right now, it's a class filed. One of them is Mohammed, who had met all the bank's requirements of showing residency and providing proof of that, and still his account was unlawfully closed. How does your bank, though, ensure that the bank's customer identification program complies with AML regulations without freezing out whole classes of consumers from access to banking services to support their families and their businesses? What steps have you all taken in that regard? And it sounds like you don't even know about the class action suit. You don't care?
Folks. So there's a lot of stuff there. She's with the progressive left, okay? She's part of the squad. I don't know anything about this case. The CEO doesn't know anything about the case. He just said it. And because he doesn't know anything about the case, all of a sudden he doesn't care. Who knows how many lawsuits that guy has? Who knows how much stuff actually gets to him as the CEO? But all of a sudden, he doesn't care. It's just amazing how they get to that kind of logic and reasoning. I just don't know how you get there, folks. I really don't. But this is what they do, okay? They're playing this whole thing because there's probably some disparity in accounts or accounts being shut down. And it just so happens that people end up being Muslim, and maybe the county or the locality of which that bank is at, like she just said, is a big population of Muslim faith. And so if you're closing down bank accounts and it's also correlated to an area of a lot of Muslims being, then you would expect there to be some sort of disparity and gap of which Muslims versus other faiths of maybe different counties having their accounts shut down versus a different county. So because there's a disparity, there's always discrimination, or because of the disparity between races, there's racism. This is how the left works, and they've been doing it for decades because they want everything to be equal. It must be exactly equal. I'm not saying there wasn't discrimination. Again, I don't know anything about the case. Neither does the CEO, but somehow now we don't care because we don't know anything about it.
I said before, yeah, I'm not aware of the class action suit. We have a deep history of banking all Americans, and another 1 million Americans will open accounts with us this quarter. And so I think we've got a
Okay,
strong
well, in May,
track
the
record
class
across
action-
all
yeah.
ethnicities and all people. So if you have a specific issue.
Sir, you
please
should be
refer
very
to-
concerned. Mr. Manhattan, you should really be concerned about this because, again, you can see that there's a pattern that specific groups from their certain background or ethnicities or faith. Again, this is a lawsuit that was filed in May. And that, we need to make sure that Americans of Muslim faith or any of national origin are not being targeted and that you guys are not implementing processes that singles them out. Are you at least supportive of making sure that you're not discriminated against a whole community?
I can assure you that's not the case.
Okay, well, I hope you got good lawyers. Do you know?
What a B. And you guys know what word I'm saying. I hope that you have good lawyers. I mean, the guy was polite. He called you ma'am. He answered your questions clearly. It wasn't like he was giving us one of those Stonewall things where they're only given like 5 minutes of time and they're just trying to repeat a bunch of nonsense that never answers the question of which was just asked to them. He's not doing that. He was clear cut with you of, hey, that's not what we're doing. I assure you we're not discriminating against anybody. And he probably knows. They probably get lawsuits like this all the time of, oh, there's some sort of discrimination practice taking place on Muslim faith. What in anything that she said, you guys let me know because I've listened to this clip about 2 or 3 times before we've done this episode. I didn't hear anything that she said other than the fact of one person or a couple people at most being connected of that they are of Muslim faith, but nothing that she said in terms of why they got their accounts closed. Did I hear a connection to the fact of they were closed because of their faith? So again, I don't know much, but just basing off what she says, it doesn't sound there's a lot of evidence there in terms of this actually being a class action lawsuit of which they're going to win in terms of those that are suing the bank. Let's go ahead and continue here.
You have all committed, as you all know, to transition the emissions from lending and investment activities to align with pathways to net zero in 2050. Do you know what the International Energy Agency has said is required to meet our global 2050 net zero targets of limiting global temperature rise to 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.5 degrees Celsius? So no.
Celsius? I'm sorry. I shouldn't be one to talk. Look, I mess up on words all the time, especially when you're trying to read fast. She is on a timer here, folks. But hold on to that 1.5 degree increase of Celsius that she's talking about here, because watch what she asks them and then listen to their response. You got to love these bank CEOs' responses. Let's go and play it.
New fossil fuel production starting today. That's like zero. So I would like to ask all of you and go down the list, because again, you all have agreed to doing this. Please answer with a simple yes or no. Does your bank have a policy against funding new oil and gas products? Mr. Diamond.
Absolutely not, and that would be the road to hell for America.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Sir,
Yeah, that's fine. That's the quiet part out loud. No, that would be a road to hell for America. That bank CEO is correct. If you recall, AOC trying to push through the Green New Deal would have destroyed the American economy. And she just said, after he just got done stating that that's a road to hell for America, she goes, that's fine. It's not fine. And that's what they don't realize. The progressive left are willing to destroy this country from the inside out, and I mean that in all regards. Their policies of wanting to get to zero emissions, which is asinine. We all want clean air. We all want clean energy. But the policies that they're pushing through and demanding from banks to the automobile industry, to vast swaths of industry, they're trying to force them to make certain decisions that's going to impact the American economy and ultimately hurt the American economy. And you just heard it here. They want them to stop divesting in gas and oil. You have to be an idiot. That is where all our freight comes from. That is where a lot of, if not most of our energy comes from. And she doesn't care that it's going to destroy America. She said the quiet part out loud, folks. You heard it from the horse's mouth. And this is not the only time we've heard it from the horse's mouth from the progressive left. They don't care a damn what it takes to get to clean energy because they all believe that the world's going to freaking blow up. It's going to be gone in 10 years, according to AOC. Well, we're nowhere near that. And they're only looking at a 1.5 degree Celsius increase in temperature, and they're willing to trash our entire country, our entire economy, because of some crazy ass belief that they have in terms of what's going to happen later on.
You know what? Everybody that got relief from student loans has a bank account with your bank should probably take out their account and close their account. The fact that you're not even there to help relieve many of the folks that are in debt, extreme debt because of student loan debt, and you're out there criticizing it. Ms. Frazier, how about?
What does it have to do with divesting from oil and gas? The fact that they're not willing to just sit there and drop your student loans. You're the one that borrowed money from them. And by the way, when you're borrowing money from the bank and say, I had an account in that bank, theoretically, you're borrowing from me because that's where the bank gets their money from. So somehow she's going to make some cockamamie connection between divesting in oil and gas and climate change to helping people with their student loans that willfully walk to the bank and engage with the lender to take out that loan. And somehow you're going to make some asinine connection to this. Does anybody see how dumb she is? I'm sorry. Again, as I've stated, we don't throw that word dumb around a lot here on the Bald Brad channel. Knucklehead here. Dumb. Stupid. That's what she is. And it's on full display right now in front of all of you. Student loans to gas and energy. Get out of here.
How about you?
We will continue to invest in and support clients who are investing in fossil fuels and in helping them transition to cleaner energies.
And Mr. Monahan?
We are helping our clients make a transition, and that means we're lending to both oil and gas companies and to new energy companies and helping monitor their course towards the standards you're talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Shar?
Excuse me, the same thing as Mr. Moynihan said.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you, Mr. Diamond, because you obviously don't care about working class people in frontline communities like ours that are facing huge amounts of high rates of asthma, respiratory issues, and so much more. Cancer rates are so high among my communities that I represent. So I'm not going to even ask you if you're committing to ending financing of new oil and gas projects. But Ms. Frazier, Mr. Monahan, Mr. Shea, we are living through a climate crisis today, and a commitment to net zero requires a commitment to ending fossil fuel financing. It is important because I want you all to know at the end, we're going to pay the cost of the public health impact. These are people that you're supposed to be serving, the folks that you're supposed to be providing and supporting in communities. Anything else defies all logic and scientific evidence at our disposal. If your financial institutions aren't going to follow through on your own net zero commitments, then regulators, including the Federal Reserve and Congress, must step in and make them. And with that, Chairwoman, thank you so much again for holding this hearing.
Did you just hear what she said?
On your own net zero commitments, then regulators, including the Federal Reserve and Congress, must step in and make them. And with that, Chairwoman, thank you so much.
The quiet parts out loud, folks. If they don't do what you say, who's going to step in? The government's going to step in. And what are they going to do? They're going to tell you what to do. This is all part of the Great Reset. I know it sounds like some bogus thing, but if you read Glenn Beck's book called The Great Reset, you can read it in one night. Fabulous reading on the ESG scores and basically to stop lending practices for those that have a low ESG score and environmental score. That's kind of where we're heading here, and you just heard her say it. If you don't follow our guidelines, if you don't follow what the progressive left wants, we're going to come after you, and we're going to use the government as a weapon. We're going to use the government as a club to make sure that we get what we want. And that's what they want. They want them to stop lending to fossil fuel industries. They want to stop lending to gas and oil and all these places because they want zero emission by 2050. No matter what it takes, they're going to do it. And you just heard it from the horse's mouth here, folks. This should be scary to all of you because you see the agenda out loud now. Before, they used to talk behind closed doors about this stuff, and we're called conspiracy theorists when we talked about the Great Reset, or we talked about lending practices and all these things that they want to do. They don't even care anymore. They've gone so off the reservation because of Donald Trump 4 years ago that they have all this derangement and psychological stuff coming out now where they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure they get zero emissions so that we're last and everybody else is first. China will be ahead of us. Russia will be ahead of us. India will be ahead of us. Whatever it is, they're going to make sure that America is crippled to get what they want. And they're not going to realize the mistake they made it until that mistake has already been done. So that's Rashida Tlaib acting like a dum-dum in front of everybody for all of us to see. Moving into our last story of the day, folks, we have a House Democrat on Wednesday stating that a cop was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher by the January 6th rioters, even though the claim was debunked a long time ago. So this is the problem you see with Democrats. They hear all this stuff, this fake news, this blunder, this bunch of baloney, according to Donald Trump, and they have no wherewithal to actually believe that it might not be real. They don't have the wherewithal to do the research. And so literally, it's been, a year since this all happened? And they're well over a year, and they're still believing in these lies. And so during this committee hearing, this House Judiciary Committee hearing, is that he's basically stating, hey, this whole thing happened. We're still going to fabricate and push this lie about this Capitol Police officer, Brian Sitnick, stating that they were bludgeoned by Trump supporters. And basically this guy, this Representative Mondaire Jones, a Democrat of New York. Obviously, it's going to be from New York if you're talking about spread and lies. But he basically gets called out by this Republican, and it doesn't end well for that Democrat. Let's go ahead and roll this together.
I mean, I wasn't listening. We were conversing a bit. But did I hear, and I think, did you say that a police officer was bludgeoned to death by the crowd at the January 6 riots?
I said a police officer was bludgeoned to death. I did not say at the hands of whom, Mr. Bishop.
Who are you referring to, if you don't mind saying?
I can get that information for you in a few minutes.
Well, I just want to make sure, because
Are you denying that that at least one Capitol police officer was murdered in the midst of what happened on January 6th?
Yeah, I think I am denying. I mean, here's what I understood, that there were reports early on that Sicknick was struck with a fire extinguisher, and that subsequently was debunked as false. He died of natural causes that were not connected to the event. Are we talking about the same person, Sicknick, or are we talking about somebody else? Seriously, I mean,
It's a genuine question, because the medical examiner, the U.S. Capitol Police put out a report agreeing with the medical examiner finding the USCP officer Brian Sicknick died of
Mr.
natural
Bishop,
causes.
well, just an initial thought, and I know that Mr. Roy, you too are an attorney. Mr. Bishop speaks often about how brilliant of an attorney he is. We're talking about but-for causation of Officer Sicknick's death, and so I would hope that you would at least concede, at a minimum, that Mr. Sicknick died as a result of what happened on January 6th. And I'm disappointed if you would suggest otherwise, sir.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think that's correct either, but was he bludgeoned to death? Is that, because I think Ms. Demings was even looking at, we were sotto voce between me and her saying he was. I'm sincere as I can be. My understanding is that was debunked, and Mr. Roy just read the medical examiner's information. Do you guys contend that he was bludgeoned to death?
I contend that 138 Capitol and D.C. police officers were injured, and that multiple Capitol police officers died as a direct result of what happened on January 6th. And I hope that you...
It's your time. You don't have to answer.
I hope you can see how one would question the sincerity of such a minute point in the midst of the gravity of everything else.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yeah.
Would the gentlelady yield?
What? But remember, you guys, we're all the conspiracy theorists. We're the crazies. We're the nutsos. We're a threat to democracy. Literally, it came out a long time ago. I don't even know if we had a show then when this came out, that he wasn't bludgeoned to death. That wasn't literally what happened to him and its cause of death. But they're still going to peddle this stuff. And then when they get called out for it, oh, well, there was like 100 and something people that were hit and beaten and all these other things, when it's like the guy's question was, are we talking about the same person here? Are we talking about Brian Sicknick? Because I'm looking at the document on my little screen. We're all having the same information here. This is from the Capitol Police saying, no, he wasn't bludgeoned to death, but this is what they're going to push here. Folks, the Washington, D.C. Medical Examiner's Office themselves ruled that Sicknick, who died the day after the riot, succumbed to natural causes after suffering 2 strokes. As the pair went back and forth, it seemed to be clear that Jones sensed that he was on shaky ground. Yeah, I would say so, because you have the Capitol Police that said what they said, and then you had the freaking Medical Examiner's Office say that he died from strokes and natural causes, not from being bludgeoned to death. But that's what they do. They peddle and peddle and peddle a bunch of falsehoods. I'm not saying the right doesn't do it. That's not what I'm saying. Everybody plays into it. But stop pushing stuff where you got an average Joe like me that can look it up on the internet. Hell, Chip Roy could sit there and look it up while you're talking in 5 seconds, go, hey, here's the document from the Capitol Police. This is what they said. Are we talking about the same person? And the guys, just for the love of God, just can't sit there and say, go, yeah, we are talking about the same person, but that's not what happened. He couldn't say Sicknick. He didn't want to push it. He didn't want to say all these other things because he realized that he was wrong and doesn't want to admit it. So what did he say? He went on to say 138 Capitol and D.C. police officers were injured and the multiple Capitol police officers died as a result of the riots. Now, the deaths were possibly a reference to the Metro police officer Jeffrey Smith and the Capitol police officer Howard Liebengood. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But they committed suicide the days following the riot. So we don't know if those are the connections he's trying to make as far as the multiple Capitol police officers, but this is what they do. This is how they spin it. You see Jen Psaki do it, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre. She tries to spin it, but she's just terrible at her job. We've all seen what she's had to say. But that's maybe the closest you can get in terms of the Capitol Police dying from Trump supporters. And I'm putting that in air quotes because those guys that stormed the Capitol are a bunch of idiots that we're still having to deal with this whole story. But you had a few dozen storm it that took a bunch of photos and selfies. And they're like, oh, our threat to democracy, the country's being overruled. Really? I mean, the Capitol event that took place on January 6th was nothing compared. Nothing, not even remotely compared to what took place in Minneapolis and the other areas where you had these Black Lives Matter, Antifa protesters and the progressive left burning our cities to the ground while CNN and MSNBC are like, well, it's a mostly peaceful protest. All the while there's freaking buildings ablaze behind them. They're getting the rocks and stuff thrown at their faces as they're being pelted by tear gas. Oh, well, it's mostly peaceful. It's not a big deal going on here. Nothing to see here, folks, as they're being lit up by freaking tear gas. They're coughing. They can't catch their breath. It's just, it's amazing, the gaslighting that comes out of this administration as well as this Democrat Party. Furthermore, folks, the New York Times reported on January 8th, citing that 2 law enforcement officers, that Sitnik was beaten with a fire extinguisher and died hours later. A month later, the newspaper updated the story to say that the law enforcement officials initially said that Sitnik was struck with a fire extinguisher, but weeks later, police sources and investigators were at odds over whether it even happened or not. If he was actually hit with the fire extinguishers. They weren't even sure. But Jones is not the first Democrat to repeat this false claim, folks. This happened before. It was included in the House Democrats' second article of impeachment against former President Donald Trump over the riot. So let that sink in. That was a part of their impeachment article, a falsehood that took place, but it's not a witch hunt. They're not going after this guy relentlessly for literally 5.5 years now. They've done nothing but try to go after this man and his family. All the while, you literally have Hunter Biden on camera, photographs, video, audio. You have everything you could possibly need of him doing drugs, freaking banging prostitutes, snorting freaking Cheez-Its out of a freaking rug. You got Joe Biden, the big man, on emails, on camera, on voicemail, on audio, on messaging. I mean, you have everything you need to go after him. Don't want to do it. Nah, not a big deal. We'll just turn a blind eye to all of it. The only people who died during the riot was Babbitt, who was shot dead by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, if you recall, Kevin Greason, who was 55, Benjamin Phillips, who was 50, and they both suffered heart attacks. And then you have Boland, who was 34, whose death was attributed to an accidental overdose. So this whole thing that they're pushing here is if like there's this massive riot, guns blazing, the Midwest, that we're all running in, doing these crazy things. I wasn't for the January 6th. I don't like the optics of it. I don't like the image of it. I don't even consider those that went inside the Capitol and did what they did conservatives or Republicans, because it doesn't hold the belief of conservatives or Republicans. But I do think they're blowing this way out of proportion. I don't like it, but they are blowing this way out of proportion, attributing the people's death of drug overdoses, suicides, being hit by a fire extinguisher, even though we aren't sure whether that happened or did happen, heart attacks, and all this stuff. Folks, you really see the shenanigans that are going on here, and it is a witch hunt. It is. You can have both be true at the same time. You can have a witch hunt, them blowing this whole thing up, pushing some propaganda, still spreading lies here, even years later, as well as it being a freaking horrific event in terms of doesn't look good, shouldn't have done it, those people are idiots, they deserve what's coming to them, all those things. But that's what Democrats do. They sit there, spin things, spin falsehoods, and it never changes here. And the guy doesn't want to admit it. And he's going to say all this slanderous stuff against, oh, well, you claimed to be a good lawyer and all these other things. Guy's an idiot. He's going to continue to be an idiot if you're still peddling this kind of falsehoods. I get that, hey, you know what? You got something in your mind. Somehow in Congress, you still haven't obtained the correct information. You got a guy being sincere right there saying, hey, honest to God, man, I'm just trying to figure out if we're talking about the same person. He's probably baffled as to how he's made it that long without actually finding out that what he's peddling here is false. And that somebody needs to tell him, hey, man, just to let you know, that's a lie. We've already debunked this. The medical examiner themselves debunked it. The Capitol Police themselves, who was one of their men, debunked it. So when are you going to admit that you're wrong here? Or are you just going to do it off camera and never peddle that lie again? Who knows what goes on behind the scenes there, but that's Democrat Party for you folks. Constantly lying, pushing, and doing witch hunts. But they're not going to do it on their own people. Of course not. Wait till Republicans get in offices. because the floodgates are open. And who caused all of it? The Democrat Party. Who wanted to raid Mar-a-Lago? The FBI in conjunction with Merrick Garland. Who wanted to go after Donald Trump? The Democrat Party. So wait till the investigations galore comes, because it's coming, folks. With that being said, I hope all of you have a lovely week. Have a phenomenal weekend. Be on the lookout for Supernatural Saturdays. We are back doing it, folks. And I look forward to seeing you here on The Bob Brat Show.